Hello and welcome back to Koala Moon, children's bedtime stories and meditations designed to make bedtime a dream. Soon we're going to join Coco on a lovely spring afternoon. It's bright, sunny and simply perfect for that thing that parents love most, spring cleaning. It's not usually Coco's favourite thing to do, but when he finds an old bathrobe with magical powers, his opinion changes. Intrigued? Me too. It's time to get started. This is The Lion, the Witch and Coco's Bathrobe by Luke Prendergast. Deep in the heart of a faraway forest stood a cosy wooden cabin. Inside the cabin lived a family of koalas. It was a very beautiful little cabin with polished wood and shining surfaces. The mama and papa koalas worked very hard to keep it clean, dusting countertops, scrubbing the tables and chairs, sweeping the floor and wiping the window panes until the glass glimmered. Everyone who lived in Sleepy Forest always remarked on what a clean and tidy cabin it was. But there was one room in the cabin that wasn't so tidy. That's right, you've got it, Coco's room. The thing was, Coco, like rather a lot of little kids, was not very good about keeping his room spick and span. And as a consequence, his parents were often telling him, sometimes secretly Coco thought of it as nagging him, to tidy it up. "You can only go out and see your friends," his dad would tell him, "once that room is cleaned up." Or, "There'll be no more sticky toffee pudding for you, young man," his mum would say sternly, "until something is done about your room." But no matter how often Coco begrudgingly tidied his room, somehow it always got messy again. It was funny how that happened. Coco thought to himself that it would have been much better if whoever had come up with the idea of bedrooms had made them so that once you tidied them once, they stayed that way, forever. One afternoon arrived, one early spring afternoon, with bright yellow lights spilling through the treetops, and all the inhabitants of Sleepy Forest were busy with their annual spring clean. Coco's parents were at it too, emptying out the cupboards and giving them a dusting so that the whole cabin could be ready for a fresh new year of seasons. They had already told him that he ought to be getting his room in order too, but Coco was trying to avoid it. He'd already played tic-tac-toe with himself on the steamed-up bathroom mirror until he ran out of space. Then he played with his toys, making up all kinds of dramas and conversations between them. But soon enough, the toys got tired and he put them away again. Then he tried to creep downstairs and out of the front door so that he could go play on the swing set that hung off the strong tree bough outside the cabin. But just as he was tiptoeing across the kitchen floor, he heard his dad's voice. Uh-oh, he'd been caught. "No, no, Coco," his dad said. "I can see exactly what you're trying to do. You're just like me when I was your age. You can go and play outside once your room is tidy, which means the quicker it's done, the quicker you play. And don't forget to clean underneath your bed. Go on now, hop to it." And so Coco slunk up the cabin stairs and into his bedroom. Well, he had to admit, his parents had a point. His room had reached levels of messiness never witnessed before. Clothes spilled out of the open closet and into piles on the floor. Toys were strewn around the room. And what was that under his desk? Oh dear, an old bit of toast he'd probably saved to have as a snack once and forgotten about. That wasn't good. So Coco got to work. He dropped the morsel of toast in the bin and gathered up big armfuls of clothes to shove back into the closet. He tried to stack his toys into piles, but each time he turned his back, they tumbled onto the floor again. Oof, tidying was hard work. And rather dull, too, he had to say. And no matter how hard you tried to make the place look tidy, you never seemed to make any progress. That's what Coco thought, anyway. Soon enough, Coco found that he'd given up on tidying his room and plonked himself on his back in the middle of his room, staring at the ceiling. Outside the window there was twittering from the forest birds who swooped by, little twigs for their nests clasped in their beaks. Coco rolled onto his side so that he was facing his bed, beneath which he could see a series of vague, shadowy lumps. Well, his dad was right again. Somehow, a whole bunch of stuff had found its way under his bed. He wondered what on earth it could be. Coco crawled across the floor and stuck his paw under the bed, pulling out first an old sock, and then a bright blue jumper decorated with woven blue ivy that he thought he'd lost last autumn. But there was still more stuff right at the back, and Coco had to stretch his arm out super far to reach it. "Gotcha," he whispered, as his paw closed around something soft. From the dark recesses of his bed, he pulled out a stuffed toy lion. "Wow," he said, "I haven't seen you in ages. And I haven't," he added, after he'd reached under the bed once more and pulled out another toy, this one of a witch with a friendly face, a pointy black hat on top of a mass of red hair, and a long black wand. "Seen you for ages, either." He smiled down at the two toys in his paws. He'd been looking for them forever. Coco peered underneath the bed once more. Surprisingly enough, there was still something under there, right at the back, huddled up against the wall. He stretched and stretched and stretched his paw, grabbed hold of it, and pulled it out. It was a fluffy blue bathrobe with a comfy-looking hood and yellow pipe trimming and big, snug pockets. It was a little dusty from being underneath the bed, but otherwise it was brand new. Coco gave it a shake to dispel some of the dust. "I remember this bathrobe," said Coco to himself. It had been a gift for his birthday last year from Cuthbert the Camel. Coco had never worn it. He felt a little bit guilty now that it had ended up beneath his bed, especially as it was such a cosy-looking bathrobe. He remembered that Cuthbert had told him that there was something special about the bathrobe, that it had some kind of power. But he couldn't right now remember exactly what it was the old camel had said. Was it something about magic? Coco gave the bathrobe another shake. Then, without further ado, he slipped his arms through it and tied the belt around his waist. Oh, it was the snuggest, most cuddliest bathrobe imaginable. So good that Coco had automatically shut his eyes, just so that he could be extra aware of the soft fabric on his fur and the tender nuzzle of the hood against his neck. Yes, Coco closed his eyes, breathed in deeply, and sighed. And when he opened them up again, well, everything had changed. Or not quite everything. He was still in his bedroom in the cosy cabin in the woods, but his bedroom was now filled, along with all his messy stuff, with lots of perfect shining bubbles, all just drifting gently through the air as if someone had just blown them. And there, by his feet, were the toy lion and witch, both of them smiling up at him. Yes, smiling. Smiling and waving. "Hello, Coco," said the witch in a deep and kind voice, and the lion gave a friendly kind of growl. "Oh, hello there," said Coco, just recovering from his startlement. All kinds of weird and wonderful things happened in Sleepy Forest, but still it was always a bit of a surprise to see something magical happen right before your eyes, especially if that bit of magic involved bringing your soft toys to life. The witch spotted the look on Coco's face and gave a low chuckle. "I suppose you're wondering what we're doing talking to you, and how all these bubbles have ended up in your room." Coco nodded. "That's exactly what I'm wondering, actually," he said. "Well, it's because you summoned us, of course," the witch explained. "Summoned you?" Coco asked. The witch nodded, as if that settled it. "But," Coco said, "how?" "By putting on the robe of requirement, of course," said the witch. "Also known as the giving gown, or the bring me what I need bathrobe." Coco looked down at the unassuming, fluffy blue bathrobe Cuthbert had given him. "The robe of requirement?" he repeated. "That's right," said the witch. "Put on that magical bathrobe, and whatever you need most in the world just then, it appears right before you." Coco blinked at the witch a few times. He wasn't very much less confused than he was before. "And," he said slowly, "what I needed most in the world was—" "Us, of course," said the witch, "for I am the Red Witch of Rub-a-Dub-Dub, also known as the Queen of Clean, or the Sorceress of Shinetopia. And this here is my trusty helper, Lenny the Lion." "Howdy," Lenny said. Coco gave him a wave. The Red Witch and Lenny the Lion peered around Coco's room at the piles of clothes, the litter of toys, the tossed-aside objects. "Well," Lenny said, "assure yourself it's not the worst we've ever seen." "Oh, no," the Red Witch agreed. "Nowhere near the worst. But it's a bit of a state, I will say," Lenny went on. "So it's a spot of luck," the Red Witch said, "that we're here to help you. If there's anything Lenny and I can do, it's show how getting a room rub-a-dub scrubbed can be a whole lot of fun." "Fun?" Coco repeated skeptically. He couldn't believe cleaning could ever be fun. "Oh, yes," Lenny piped in. "Fun and relaxing. So, shall we get to work?" Coco looked from the witch to the lion and back again to the witch. There was nothing else for it, he guessed. He may as well give it a go. He nodded. "Yes, please," he said. The Red Witch smiled delightedly and took a step back. She rose the long black spindle of her wand into the air before giving it a kind of twirling swoop. A stream of elegant bubbles blew out of the tip of it, sailing across the room and landing with a series of tiny little pops on a collection of little human figurines that lay in a jumble on the other side of the room. Then, before Coco's barely believing eyes, the figurines blinked and stood up. They patted down their trousers and shirts as though they'd just awoken from a long slumber, and blinking happily around, they got to work. The little figurines headed for a nearby pile of clothes that had tumbled out of the wardrobe. One by one, they picked up items of clothing, t-shirts and shorts, socks and shirts, jeans and underpants, folded them neatly and set them in well-organized piles. They whistled while they worked, and seemed so merry doing it that soon Coco found that he was joining in, folding his clothes and sorting them into piles too. Meanwhile, Lenny was prowling around the edges of the room, using his powerful lion's nose to sniff out any bits of old rubbish, like sweet wrappers or apple cores that had ended up falling behind cupboards or out of sight on the shelves. When he found something, he tossed it into a rubbish bag. And all along, the Red Witch of Rub-a-Dub-Dub was standing in the middle of the room, waving her wand about as though she were conducting an orchestra. Plumes of beautiful bubbles spilled from the end of her wand, pink bubbles and blue bubbles and yellow bubbles. And wherever the bubbles touched, something magical occurred. Scattered pens and pencils rose up into the air before sorting themselves neatly into Coco's pencil case, alongside his ruler and rubber, his pencil sharpener and crayons. Books that lay on the floor or else balanced in wonky piles glided towards the bookshelf, arranging themselves in perfect alphabetical order. And bits of Lego, which were strewn all over the room, tumbled across the floor and hopped back into their big red box. Soon enough, the room was tidier than it had ever been before. All Coco had to do was straighten some wrinkles out of his bedsheet and plump his pillow up, and it looked perfect. Or rather, it looked almost perfect. "Just one last thing to do," announced the Red Witch. She gave another swish of her wand, and all the bubbles that were floating peacefully around the room drifted towards the walls and windows, the top of Coco's desk, the post of his bed, and popped there in little soapy bursts. Once they were done, every surface of the room sparkled. "There we go," said the Red Witch. "That's better." Coco gazed around his gleaming room. It was better than better. It was perfect. "Thank you ever so much," he said to the Red Queen, and to Lenny too. "I've never, ever seen my room look so spick and span, as my parents would say. And you're right, that was a lot of fun." "Oh, yes," said Lenny. "Nothing so fun as a good spring clean." "And now," added the Red Witch, "as promised, Now we move on to the relaxing part. The relaxing part? Coco asked. The Red Witch gave him a little grin. Now your room is all clean and tidy. It's time to get you clean and tidy too, she said. Are you ready? And as soon as Coco nodded, she gave a little flick of her wand. Out of the end of it came the biggest bubble Coco had seen yet, a bright pink bubble that grew and grew and grew until at last it came unstuck from her wand and floated towards Coco. Then, with a little pleasant popping sound, the bubble pressed against him, and then he was inside it. He floated there, inside the bubble, as though suddenly he weighed nothing at all, or gravity had stopped working. It was a very tranquil sensation indeed, floating there, inside the pearly bubble. The bubble carrying Coco floated up into the air so that he was hovering in the middle of his room. Then, very smoothly indeed, as though he were sailing down the sleepy river on its most sleepiest of afternoons, the bubble followed the Red Witch and Lenny out of the bedroom, across the cabin landing, and into the bathroom on the other side. Here other bubbles were already getting to work. They were filling up the bath with warm, soapy water, the suds billowing like foamy mountain ranges floating on top of the sea. The big bubble carrying Coco came to a halt and appeared to hover just above the floor, as though allowing him to get off. He stepped down onto the bathroom floor and thanked the bubble, which disappeared with a merry little pop. A wonderful, soothing smell filled the air, hints of lavender and chamomile and other wonderful calming herbs. The warm water looked so inviting that Coco couldn't resist it. He reached out his paw and dipped it in. The water was neither too hot nor too cold. It was just perfectly right. Go on, the Red Witch said encouragingly. Get in. It's for you. So Coco slipped off the bathrobe, the enchanted robe of requirement, and slipped into the bath. As soon as he was submerged, he felt the warm water doing its magical work of soothing his muscles and making his whole body relax. He opened his eyes and saw the two rubber ducks who usually sat on the edge of the bath, quacking happily at each other and paddling through the water. Okay, Coco, Lenny said. Time for a scrub now. And from the rack on the wall, the scrubbing brush and the soap bottle floated into the air. The bottle squirted a little soap onto the brush before the brush began to descend towards Coco. Coco knew just what it was coming to do. He raised his hands up in the air, and then the brush was there, scrubbing his chest and under his arms and under his chin. Then Coco turned over so that the magical scrubbing brush could scrub his back. Ooh, that felt good. Yup, just the right amount of scratchy on his back. Coco flipped back over and lay with his head back and his feet poking out of the water so that the brush could scrub his soles. The Red Witch was absolutely right. This was the most relaxing scrub-a-dub-dub he had ever had. So relaxing, in fact, that he began to drift off, and the world he was living in began to merge with his dreams, so that for a little while he was not simply inside a bubble, but he was a bubble, floating sleepily through the forest. Coco didn't know how long he'd drifted off for, but a knocking at the bathroom door roused him from his half-slumber. He blinked blearily around. The water was not as warm as it had once been, and the soap suds were beginning to dissolve. Coco looked down at the floor and saw his two toys lying there, inanimate. The Red Witch and Lenny the Lion. Coco smiled to himself. Their work here was done, and they'd returned back to their soft toy form. The knock at the door came again, and his mum's voice called out softly, "Are you in there, Coco?" "Yes," Coco replied. "I'm coming out now." He slipped out of the bath and wrapped a towel around himself. Then he picked up the Red Witch and Lenny and the robe of requirement too. He opened the door. "I finished tidying my room," Coco told his mum, "so I thought I'd have a clean too." "Oh," said Coco's mum, evidently a little surprised. "Is that so?" Coco nodded. "Come, take a look," he said to her. So Coco led his mum back across the cabin landing and into his room. My, she whispered, glancing around. "I've never seen your room like this, Coco. You did all this?" "Oh, yes," Coco said, looking down at the toys in his hands and grinning. "I worked very hard indeed." "I can see that," said his mum. "Well, I certainly think you deserve to go out and play now." But Coco didn't feel like going outside right now. He'd had so much fun cleaning with the Red Witch and Lenny, and then such a relaxing bath, that in fact he felt rather sleepy. He thought that it was in fact time for an early evening nap. "Okay," said his mum, giving him a ruffle on the head. "I'll call you when it's dinner time. Lots of delicious pancakes for you this evening, I think." And throwing one final impressed look around Coco's room, she slipped out and shut the door. Coco hung the blue bathrobe on the back of his door. Then he finished toweling himself off, slipped on some extra soft pajamas, and climbed onto his bed. He tucked himself under the covers and placed the soft toy Red Witch and Lenny next to him. He knew that they wouldn't mind him taking all the credit for all the cleaning and tidying they'd done. He wanted to keep them secret, after all, his new friends, and the robe of requirement too. He was already looking forward to the following week, once his room had inevitably got messy again, because he knew that even a magical clean wouldn't stop it getting messy again. Then he'd slip the robe of requirement back on, and he'd be able to hang out with the Red Witch and Lenny once more. Suddenly, tidying his room didn't seem like such a terrible slog after all. In fact, he thought that it might become one of his favourite parts of the week. And so, hugging the Red Witch and Lenny tightly to his chest, Coco closed his eyes and let his mind drift off into a deep and peaceful sleep, floating off into a dreamland of shimmering bubbles and gleaming windows and witches with magical wands and lions who liked folding clothes and putting them neatly into wardrobes. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes, let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply, breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy. You can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. Anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime, now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They are here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep, light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one.